I believe that leaders on both sides have shirked this responsibility, but I am glad that the chairman is taking it on, even if it means opening the resolution to criticism. Now, before I get to my criticism of this resolution, let me commend the goal, one of the goals of this resolution, and that's the creation of a bipartisan fiscal commission, which I have called for as a steering member of the Bipartisan Fiscal Forum, led by my friends Representative Peters and Huizenga, but also as a member of the Problem Solvers Caucus. I do believe that the only way we will get our fiscal house in order and have the opportunity to make tough decisions is to create a bipartisan commission who can truly focus on reducing our deficits and restoring solvency of our trust funds. A commission which can give us the opportunity to look not just at spending, but also look at revenues and present to Congress a real plan on which we can actually have a real vote. Now, that being said, of course, I have concerns with the details of this resolution, especially the dramatic cuts that deviate from our budget agreement and the rosy assumptions made in order to preserve the tax cuts that largely benefit the wealthiest in our society. I do, and I think many people up here on the dais, wish this would have been a bipartisan effort, and yes, wish it would have been presented much earlier instead of just days before a new fiscal year is set to begin. I'm very concerned with the cuts to our housing programs, wildfire response programs, and agricultural programs. Those will leave our economy weaker and our constituents worse off. I'm worried that these cuts will reduce funding for law enforcement, immigration services, and border security, and I'm very confused by the cuts to IRS funding, which will increase our deficits and make it harder to ensure all pay what they owe. I'm also disappointed that we're not seriously addressing tax revenues in this budget. Right now, the United States is one of the lowest-ranking OECD countries in revenue collection. I know that raising revenue requires tough choices, and we need to work towards tax policies that encourage growth in our communities. But we cannot reduce our deficits to a manageable level just by cutting spending alone. We need to have a serious discussion about where we can responsibly raise revenues. Contrary to the majority's projections, I do not believe that even these dramatic cuts will result in economic growth. We have seen this play out before, following the passage of the TCJA, which failed to deliver the income boost and revenue needed to pay for itself. Although I appreciate that we have a resolution, I'm very disappointed that it's just 10 days before we may be forced to shut down the government. The current majority has failed to pass all but one appropriations bill and cannot even agree to even partisan spending bills. So I urge Speaker McCarthy to work on bipartisan appropriation bills, which can actually pass the House, and a bipartisan continuing resolution, which can actually pass the Senate. I'm hopeful that we can amend this resolution that reflects levels agreed to in the Fiscal Responsibility Act and move forward with a bipartisan product. With that, I yield back.
I have major news to share with you today. Lawmakers have passed new legislation, and new credits are also being made available to many Americans. Relief is now arriving for households in many different ways, including rebate checks. Some households have yet to claim about $128 million in relief funds. My dear friends, please make sure that you watch until the end of this video to learn if you qualify for this aid. Also, every Friday, I will be announcing winners for the Walmart gift card giveaway. Please make sure you enter the weekly giveaway, friends, by clicking and liking several of my videos, and then comment below the keyword of each video that you watch. The more videos that you comment on, friends, the greater your chances of winning these giveaways. And at the end of today's video, I will be announcing yesterday's winners, so please make sure that you do stay tuned. One state property tax credit will rise slightly in 2023, but not all residents of the state of Nebraska are claiming a more lucrative tax refund, which is available to them via their income tax return. The Nebraska Department of Revenue announced this week that the real property tax credit for tax year 2023 will amount to $220 for the owner of a $200,000 home and $264 for the owner of a $200,000 worth of farmland. That credit, which shows up on the yearly property tax statements sent to landowners and homeowners, rose slightly from a year ago when it was $213 for a $200,000 home and $256 for the owner of a like amount of a farm or ranch property. But all property owners in the state of Nebraska are not claiming a 3-year-old income tax credit that partially refunds property tax payments for K through 12 schools and community colleges. 1 year ago, state officials said that 40% of the state taxpayers had failed to take the credit on their state income tax returns as of September, leaving $200 million unclaimed. Those numbers have improved somewhat in 2023, with about $128 million unclaimed as of mid-September, or about 23% of the $548 million available. A Revenue Department spokeswoman said this week that more taxpayers are expected to claim the credit in October, when those who ask for an extension in filing their income tax returns will file. She also stated that the department plans to send out postcards to property owners in hopes of increasing the use of the refund, which is intended to soften the impact of the state's traditionally high property taxes. State Senator Lou Ann Linehan, who led adoption of the income tax credit as chair of the legislature's Revenue Committee, said this Thursday that new tax credits are not usually fully utilized, but she expects that over time, more people will take advantage of it as it becomes more widely known. This was a big year for tax cuts in the Nebraska legislature, with lawmakers passing increases in both tax credit programs and setting the state on a course to reduce the top state individual and corporate income tax rate to 3.99%. It once stood at 6.84% for individuals, which senators said left the state uncompetitive, as other states have lowered tax rates. U.S. applications for unemployment benefits fell to their lowest level in 8 months last week, as the labor market continues to show strength in the face of elevated interest rates. U.S. applications for jobless claims fell by 20,000 to 201,000 for the week ending September 16th. That is the lowest number since the last week of January. Jobless claim applications are seen as representative of the number of layoffs in a given week. Though the Federal Reserve has opted to leave its benchmark borrowing rate alone this week, it is well into the second year of its battle to stamp out a 4-decade high inflation. The whopping 11 interest rate hikes since March of 2022 has helped to curb price growth, but the U.S. economy and labor market have held up better than most expected. And earlier this month, the government reported that U.S. employers added a healthy 187,000 jobs during the month of August, though the unemployment rate ticked up to 3.8%. It is still low by historical measures. Recent government data also showed that job openings dropped to 8.8 million in July. That is the fewest since March 2021, and down from 9.2 million in June. However, those numbers remain unusually robust, considering monthly job openings never topped 8 million before 2021. Well, my magnificent and most marvelous friends, that is the end of my daily stimulus update video. Thank you so very much, friends, for being part of this community. The two winners of yesterday's Walmart gift card giveaway is Lily Jordan and Rita Brady. Congratulations, my dearest friends. To claim your gift cards, please check your notifications page and send me a message. Or you could message me on my Facebook page. Thank you, friends, and have a wonderful and very blessed weekend.